He wants to believe, but she's bound by the truth, creating an X-Files style showdown. This internal war pits the FBI files, the finest, against a by-the-book Attorney General with a secret X-File. In Washington, there are two kinds of secrets: the ones they're keeping and the ones they're scared to admit are even real. This is about the second kind. A war being fought in the shadows of our government, a quiet war. Waged not with guns, but with secrets and sealed files. It's a fight between a man who believes he can expose it all and the woman whose job it is to make sure he never does. This goes way beyond politics. This is the MAGA X-Files. It all comes down to one single question. What is really in the Jeffrey Epstein files? For years, we were promised a reckoning was coming. A list of names, an earthquake that would shake the establishment to its very foundation. And one man more than anyone else is leading that charge from the outside. A man who built a media empire by exposing the swamp secrets. Damn Bongino. But now he's on the inside. As a new deputy director of the FBI. He finally has the keys to the kingdom. Problem is, the kingdom has a queen. And Attorney General Pam Bondi just slammed the gate shut. To get what's happening, you have to get the man at the center of it all. Dan Bongino. He's not your typical DC suit, nah. He's a former New York cop, a former Secret Service agent who stood guard for 2 presidents. He has walked the halls of power, not as a politician, but as a protector, a silent watcher. He's seen what they're like when the masks come on. And for years, on his show, Bongino gave voice to millions of people who felt the whole system was rigged. He hammered the Epstein case, saying over and over, there's a reason they're hiding it, and that a client list existed that will rock the political world. He was the ultimate insider. Screaming from the rooftops that the emperor had no clothes. And then something no one saw coming happened. The outsider got invited in. As deputy director of the FBI, Bongino was suddenly in a position to prove every single thing he'd been saying. He wasn't just talking about the news anymore. He was in a position to be the news. He was Mulder, the believer. finally handed the keys to the real-life X-Files. The expectation from his base was crystal clear. Bongino's our guy. He's on the inside. He's going to get the files. He's going to release the names. He would deliver the justice that was promised. He wasn't just asking the questions now. He was supposed to be the answer. But every government institution has a Scully. Someone who isn't guided by belief, by the book. Someone whose entire job is to keep things in order. Follow the rules. Protect the institution itself from chaos. In walks Attorney General Pam Bondi. As a career prosecutor and a two-term Attorney General for Florida, Bondi doesn't just understand the system, she is the system. Her job isn't to feed righteous anger of the base, it's to run the Justice Department. And the DOJ plays by its own rulebook. It's a book filled with talk of protecting victims, of court-ordered seals, of the vast difference between raw intelligence and evidence you can actually prosecute someone with. For months, the administration, Bondi included, had been building expectations, talking about a truckload of evidence and promising transparency. The base was ready for a bombshell. Then the memo landed. A simple 2-page joint statement. From the DOJ and FBI. It said that after an exhaustive review, the conclusion was, well, nothing. Fuck. There was no incriminating client list. No client list, no evidence, nothing that could be used to investigate new, uncharged people. And then came the gut punch, the final sentence. No further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. The door wasn't just closed, it was bolted, locked, and welded shut for the millions of people who were promised a floodlight. The DOJ just got the power. And for Dan Bongino, the man who had promised to flip that switch, it was a moment of absolute crisis. The explosion was immediate. The MAGA base, the very people who put the administration in power, felt completely betrayed. And inside the White House, the tension had been simmering between the believer and the gatekeeper, finally erupted into an open war. Multiple sources spoke of a nasty confrontation, blow-up between Bongino and Attorney General Pam Bondi. It was a clash of two totally different worlds. Bongino, the outsider who finally made it in, was reportedly furious. His voice raised. He argued that the way the DOJ handled the memo was a total disaster, big fuck-up, self-inflicted wound that made them look just like the cover-up artists they swore they would expose. Bongino, being a man of his word, he had spent years telling his audience that a list existed. And now his own FBI's logo was on a piece of paper saying it didn't. He was being made to look like a liar or a fool. Bondi, on the other hand, was fighting a fire that she had to help start. This was about more than a memo. It was about two completely different ideas of power. Bongino's view, born out of a populist movement, is that the system is corrupt and needs to be exposed. Its secrets dragged into the light, whatever the cost. Bondi's view, born from a career in law, is that the system, even with its flaws, has to be preserved. You don't burn down your own house. Just to prove a point. The fight reportedly got so heated that Bongino stormed out of a meeting with White House officials. The quiet war was quiet no more. And this is where the story spirals into a true MAGA civil war. Humiliated and enraged, Dan Bongino reportedly told colleagues he was going to quit. Then he didn't come to work on Monday. A shocking move of protest from the number 2 guy at the FBI. Sources said he felt like he'd been made the scapegoat, left dry by an administration that was picking bureaucracy's safety over the truth he sworn. He allegedly gave the president an ultimatum: fire Pam Bondi or he walks. The whole mess infuriated President Trump, who spent the week fuming about the chaos at the top of his law enforcement agencies. In the end, he publicly backed his Attorney General, leaving his FBI deputy director twisting in the wind. Just think about what this means. This isn't some gossip column, podcast, to worry about DC drama. This is the central conflict of the entire MAGA movement, playing out at the highest levels. The outsiders stormed the council, only to find themselves becoming a new royalty, forced to deal with the messy reality of actually being in charge. Now they have to choose. Do they keep their promises to burn it all down, or do they become the very establishment they promised to destroy? Bongino, the ultimate believer, just ran full speed into the institutional wall created by Trump. And that wall, represented by Pam Bondi, didn't even budge. This is what happens when the government is run by crackpots and fools. The files remain closed. In the end, a weekend of high-stakes drama, Dan Bongino went back to his office. The immediate crisis was put on pause, but the war isn't over. No, baby. Not by a long shot. The real question is still hanging there like a classified document no one's allowed to read. Who was right? Was Bongino chasing ghosts? A conspiracy theorist who couldn't handle it when his own investigation turned up nothing? Or is he the one man who knows what's really in those files? Silenced by a system that would do anything to protect itself, the X-File is still wide open. The official memo said the case is closed, but for millions of Americans, it feels more open than ever. They told us there was no client. They told us there would be no more disclosures. They want you to think the story is over. They're banking on you getting distracted. They're counting on you to forget. Can't let that happen. Can't let that happen. The truth is still out there. Locked away in some government vault. This was never just about one case. Share this. Demand answers. Keep asking questions. They are terrified to answer. What are they so afraid of us seeing in those files? And who do you believe? The warrior who wants to expose the truth? Or the gatekeeper who says there's no truth left to find? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The truth is still out